Member for Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So I'd first like to thank the Minister for opening up this third reading debate by outlining what a fantastic organization Perennia is. And Perennia has grown over the past 10 years in its current form by being a close partner with industry, by being a good corporate citizen in its reporting and accountability and transparency. And we have an amazing organization here in Nova Scotia. And yet, it is really unclear why this is happening and why it is being moved to a Crown corporation under the direction of a minister. And I think in second reading, I invited folks to look under your chairs, because as far as I can tell, everyone's getting a corporation. So if you didn't get a corporation, like, just check, because there's been a dozen or so of them. I checked under my chair and there wasn't one, but I think it might be reserved for that side of the house. So it is astounding, actually, that we have made this decision. So let's, like my honourable colleague from Kings North, I also actually started my remarks with the question, like, I'd written, how did we get here? Like, how does this even make sense, basically? So just to walk through, sort of where we got to this. So the minister's mandate letter talks about, the same blurb that was in most ministers, I think. Within the first 6 months, and as part of your department's mandate, you will work with me and other departments in reviewing the role and effectiveness of agencies, offices, and Crown corporations, with the goal of ensuring the most efficient and accountable methodology for the undertaking of their respective tasks. So I'll table that letter. And I'd really like to emphasize the word methodology, because I think if we haven't heard anything, we have not heard any methodology through this decision making. The report that we have access to, again, the 2-pager, with regards to Perennia, what that said was, currently a corporation established by the Companies Act, Perennia will be established as a new Crown corporation with its own legislation similar to other Crown corporations. Legislation is expected in fall 2022. So I think there are two things to unpack from that report. And I'll use that word loosely. In terms of, first of all, what was promised, what was mentioned here is legislation similar to other Crown corporations. Well, in fact, what has been presented bears no resemblance to the establishment of a true Crown corporation. I think, I've talked about this in second reading. I talked about this in third reading for previous bill, and my colleague from Kings North also just walked us through the available literature that exists that's been recently developed about what Crown corporations look like, what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to have boards. The minister is not normally, it's involved definitely in assuring their accountability and transparency, but is not the core decision maker in the organization. But even kind of more interesting in this case is that this was actually a private company. So again, we've talked and asked for information about what is our government's economic development plan. So what are we intending to bring together across immigration, across economic development, across agriculture, across other sectors? And so why, on one hand, we just really wanted to support the well-being of large corporations in this province, and we just passed an act supporting that. And on the other hand, we're taking away a company. We're actually just making it almost like a division of a department. And so I think there's, we have not been privy to this methodology that's been determined, that's been used to determine what is that efficiency and accountability mandate of each organization. And I think that is really a shame and really democratic deficit in this session. I think as well, following Law Amendments Committee and the Committee of the Whole House on Bills, I too shared the greater part of the letter from Tim Marsh on behalf of the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. And I do actually want to revisit a couple of quotes from that, because I share sort of my disbelief and deep concern that the minister would bring forward a bill directly affecting the 2,000 members of the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture without engaging the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. So here are two of the quotes I'd like to share, and then I'll retable, well, I can actually retable the letter now. The lack of consultation with the industry and the significant shift in organizational structure leaves us concerned about future engagement and priorities of the organization. They said as well, we believe agricultural extension and applied research mandates of Perennia are essential to the long-term success of the industry. But without clear engagement and leadership from the industry on these mandates, we are concerned about the potential disconnect that may occur in the future. If the decision to shift the structure of an organization that is vital to the industry is made unilaterally, it weakens our sector's confidence that this work will continue in our collective best interest. I mean, that is the plainest way of saying, like, how could you not come to us as the major industry and sector organization? How could you not engage us in this? And what are we left to think about your respect for us and how you're going to engage us in the future? No, that's not for tailors. And so in particular, so why is this particularly important to think about the impacts in agriculture, fisheries, and aquaculture? And these are sectors that we know are on the front lines of climate change. And this vulnerability was only reinforced through our most recent experience with Fiona. The damage, short and long term, and the recovery costs are only the start of the effects of climate change on these industries. At the same time, and as we've discussed, these industries are facing incredible costs of production and costs of living increases. So their inputs, from the start to the finish, and the Premier has been offering up some gardening lessons over the last couple of sessions. So from seed to fertilizer to harvest to market, all of those costs are increasing. At the same time, there's a labor shortage and a housing shortage for labor who want to move and contribute to these sectors but can't come to those parts of Nova Scotia. And also, they are facing a lot of uncertainty about carbon costs at this point, about what will the cost be for this government to have fallen short of the work they knew they needed to do to address carbon pricing in the province. So there's so many concerns. We also have an aging population of farmers, and we also have an absolute number of decreasing numbers of farms. So these are such important parts of our province. We all share that commitment. I think we all share that commitment to those sectors. I know that we do. But we need to be respectful of our engagements with them, and we need to be considering looking forward for them. And so this, we talked a lot about agricultural extension, and I thought I would just spend a minute talking about what that actually is. Because I think, it's important to realize that, basically it's one of the oldest applied scientific approaches that there is. In fact, the modern agricultural extension can be actually traced back 4,000 years to Mesopotamia, but really also took off following the Irish potato famine in the mid-1800s. And so if we think about that, there again was a climate disaster, a social disaster. The need was to have a rapid response from the agricultural sector to be able to support the population. And that's what agricultural extension does. Agricultural extension is regarded as a really important tool for supporting new farmers. So as we see the number of farms actually decrease in the province, and we want to support new Canadians, we want to support women, and we want to support young farmers, it's essential that we have agricultural extension that is well regarded by the industry. And what I think we're expressing here is it's not clear that there was anything broken or wrong in the way that Perennia was providing those services. In fact, it was highly regarded by the industry. And so the risk here is what happens now. I think it's just really important to think about what is the goal and how does this meet our other goals. So where does this leave us? So in industries that are on the front line of rapid economic and environmental change, with actually a well-established science of how to evolve and respond, and we've had a well-regarded organization that has been supporting these sectors, why are we implementing this change now? Agricultural extension is essential for the future of agriculture in this province. And it's also essential for food security, which we don't have a provincial strategy for, but this is certainly an important piece. It's hard to see the reason for this change. No one's given us any clear rationale on the change. Having no consultation with the key body representing 2,000 farms across the province, and who are now greatly concerned. And where does this leave the government's relationship with these Nova Scotians? We remain deeply concerned about the approach of this bill and the dozens others that represent an unjustified move to consolidate power to the Executive Council and Premier's offices, and we will not be supporting this bill.